Okay, so here is the flight deck finished. I wanted to show it off in the dark first so you could see that underlying glow. That is what the second inverter is for that I had mentioned in a previous video. Basically that plugs into a bit of blue L wire, which is, let me lift it up here. It's just looped around twice, just around the bottom edge there. Runs up into the inverter, which I'll show you in a second, but it really gives a nice effect. So the inside of the Galileo is still looking a bit blue, and when we turn on the master lights here, the effect is not all that pronounced. I put the model on a piece of white paper so it would show up blue, but let me pause this and I'll pull that out of there. So now of course with the green paper it lights up a really nice green, but of course that's not what we're going for here, and the glow is greatly diminished on video, but it does still show up in person. And the inside of the Galileo is still not quite bright as it should be, but there's really no way around that unless I had pumped a couple extra white LEDs in there. So let's take a tour around the deck here. Of course, in this crate we have the power button. This bit of cardboard box here, let me pull this off, is reinforced with popsicle sticks around all the corners. I gave it the grill decals from the Enterprise, and of course the lid gets a nice Federation of Planets and the emblem from my refit Polar Lights 350. And then on the front there's just some yellow numbering. This first inverter here powers the Galileo. The second inverter there powers the L wire. I think I had gone over the previous components of what all these things are, but again I went to town with the decals, borrowing a bunch from the refit 1701. I have to put a little piece of plastic on this here to cover that up. Again, the 1701, the Enterprise comes from the AMT, and a lot of these other decals are from the refit, including those. On the front here we got the engineering hull emblems with a nice little 1701 in front. I suppose there's really not much else to tell about it. Essentially the gloss is about 12 hours old, so it's good enough to work with, but not quite good enough to really do any major heavy duty work. And as you might be able to see there on the lettering, that got all smushed up when I had it flipped over on its back. I don't think there's too much to talk about underneath. Just taped everything up, and this grate is sealed in there with some CA gel. Whenever possible, I go with a Molex connector for my power supply, just so I can remove the two from each other should it be necessary. And get a couple close-ups here on these parts. So I definitely went for a few details, and I'm definitely glad I did. Overall, I'm really happy with the piece. It came out as good as I could have expected it to, so no disappointments there. I think I had mentioned previously that the Galileo could have been better, but I had started that 2 years ago before I really didn't know a lot, and I think all the work I did then still shows through from what I did most recently and what I've learned. But I definitely took it to a nice conclusion. One other thing I did today was take some 1000 grit wet sandpaper, and I went down along the sides here, and if you take a look at my last Galileo finished video, you may see some cracking in the decals, and those essentially disappeared which I was pretty happy about. There's still a distinct line along the edges of the decals, but I think if you do some gloss, sand down, gloss, resand, and repeat that procedure a few times, that will probably eliminate the stuff. So I think I threw some nice little touches in here. And yeah, that's really about it. I can't think of too much more. I may put a couple more boxes around the deck to clutter things up, and if I ever find some 1/35th figures, those will definitely get some Starfleet uniforms, and I'll paint those on. I guess in mixing the refit decals with the originals, I'm sort of doing a blend in between the show and the first movie. You know, changing standards over and that kind of thing. There must have been some sort of transition at some point. But that's pretty much it. This was a lot of fun to do, and I'm glad I threw all these decals on there because it really adds a lot of life to what would have been a very boring piece overall. So I'm guessing that's about it. Thanks for watching. As I said, once I find some figures or I add anything to it, I'll do another video eventually, but this guy is done. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all later.